right now, right, we live in this era where everybody has access to the internet, where it's very straightforward. Banking is very straightforward. But there's this talk of Web3. There's this talk of decentralized finance, cryptocurrency, NFTs. So maybe we break it down one at a time, right?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What is DeFi? And how would you express that to a person that is not so familiar with this phrase,
phrase,
term,
right? Okay. So like, I mean, I will try. It's
no
massive, right?
Sure.
And I think even people who follow me and what I do with my DeFi guide, which is a service where I guide people to do this, right? Even as I trying to break it down to them, I got a feedback from them, and most of them I actually found out that it's very hard to understand what I'm saying. Even though when I've broken it down to like, okay, let me try with the lowest hanging fruit, which is you just put money and you get like, like savings account, you get how many percent? Savings account now we get less than 1%, like 0 point something. And like DeFi, you'll get like 10% around there, more or less. If you're good, you can push it more. But basically, it's a savings account that generates the amount.
Yes. So
this is what I usually tell people so that they say, oh, this is interesting. The thing about DeFi is that's how I learned, how a lot of us go into this is they find a product that like savings or something that really can give that kind of returns instead of whatever they used to investing without the risk, right? Then you're like, oh, okay, let me learn. And as they learn, they actually understand, oh, okay, this is what DeFi is. But to a layman, like you said, going back to the question, right? To a layman, I would say that this is really whatever we can do with the bank, but now without the bank, without a middleman.
Yes.
In a very, very simple way to put it is you are basically taking out the middleman of banks and they are replaced by the blockchain networks and the smart contracts on it. So in layman terms, you could say a blockchain network is kind of like let's say you get your iOS, okay, or your Android. Okay, that's the main, like the operating main system, like something you build on, right? Then the apps live on them, right? So the apps are coded using smart contracts. So you just use them, basically.
It's a program in which you can utilize.
Yes, and it's the nature about this whole thing. Just now you mentioned Web3 it is decentralized, meaning let's compare to what Web2 is, what we're using today, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
social media,
whatever apps we have on our phones. Up till this stage, if one party hosts everything, like they use Amazon Web Services or anything, right? Facebook owns your data, that kind. You've heard of all these things, right? This is Web2 basically, because it's centralized to one central party. But Web3 is where everything is decentralized, where the data lives on the network, but it doesn't need to be governed or kept by one central party.
And it's immediate because I can deal directly to whoever I want to deal with.
So think like P2P, like LimeWire, like Pirate.
No, it's okay. You can go. We even literally discussed about whether we should pirate movies, and the answer is we all pirate movies. So let's go for it.
Yeah, P2P, Pirate Bay, the whole torrent thing. Yeah, that's the origins of the model of what Satoshi Nakamoto built Bitcoin, which is the blockchain network and this whole Web3 thing. I mean, I'm using a lot of terms here, but Web3 is generally this whole sphere where our internet, our web, where we're headed with this. And DeFi happens to just be a part of it. NFT also, metaverse, all this.
I think it's kind of like we are so ingrained in this system in which the bank is kind of like automatic, right? You take the bank for granted.
Yeah.
You think the bank, right, is like paying cash when you buy Kai Fan. It's like, oh, I just give money, ma.
Yeah.
But what they don't see is the bank actually holds your money and you don't hold anything.
You don't know. Yeah, correct. Actually, you don't hold anything.
You actually only hold the money in your wallet. Physically. Digitally, yes. But at the same time, right, if the bank told you one day, hey, let's say you own a Maybank account, and then Maybank say, yeah, it's up. Do you think your money will be there? The answer is no lah.
Yep.
So in a decentralized world, if we lived in one, right, or we will soon be, you will never lose your money because there is no person, there is no entity, there is no company that holds your money.
Yeah.
It is you hold your money in a form of information on the internet. So if I were to buy Kai Fan, or you were to buy Kai Fan from me, example, you pay me cash, but this time in a digital format. Because I think a lot of people don't see this. It's very difficult to understand because the internet now is evolved a lot, right?
Yeah, man.
Like Web 1 at the time, I don't know. Bro, how old are you? Like 1990?
No, bro, I'm actually quite old. Actually, 19, you said 90, right? I think, about there. Just few, I'm 90, 1988.
Oh, cool. I'm 92, he's 95.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when you've lived through that era where, how do you know about that website? Oh, my friend in school told me about that website. Remember the era?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you know about porn? If the person told you, hey, go to pornhub.com, then you only know about Pornhub. There was no Google, there was no Yahoo, there was no MSN. In the very early stages, you had to know the domain. www.xyz.com.
Legit. Pretty much.
And then it became Web 2, where it's Facebook, where there is a search bar. There is Twitter with a search bar. There is YouTube with a search bar. And we take that shit for granted because it's ingrained in the user interface.
Yeah, correct.
So a lot of times when you make that search, you are actually using something to find your information.
Correct.
And that thing you assume is part of the internet, which is not. They are just living on the internet.
Correct.
So in this decentralized way, I feel like you just deal directly to someone without Maybank, basically. You hold all your cash.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is to clarify. And it took me a fucking long time to understand this shit. Okay. In my primal brain, it took me like a good year to understand this shit.
I think that the challenge with why it's so complicated is because you need to unlearn.
Yes.
That is the difficult part. It's not necessarily learning new information. People are generally accustomed to that.
Yeah.
But unlearning what pre-existing knowledge you have is really difficult. And this is prime example of unlearning.
This is us being boomers and not knowing how to use smartphone, and then we ask them how to use camera.
Precisely.
Legit, basically.
Yes.